Oh, sorry for that. So, welcome to the very first hour office hours, Lifecycle office hours. Super excited to be on the stream and glad to be bringing some people from the team, Asaf and Zevi. We will start with the very first intro. Asaf, you can go ahead and give yourself an intro.
Hi, thank you, Pradumna. My name is Asaf. I'm the VP R&D here. Been a programmer for the last 10 years. Very excited about the entire spectrum of preview environments. And I think we've built a very exciting product. So feel free to ask questions if you have. Zevi.
Hey, Pradumna. My name is Zevi. I'm the head of marketing here at Lifecycle, and we are excited to tell you about some of the developer tools that we're building, why we're building them, and how you can use them, how you can benefit from them. So, Pradumna, all yours. Why don't you tell us about you?
Yeah.
What do you know about Pradumna?
Yeah, First of all, thank you so much for the. So, hey, I'm Pradhan from India. So, I'm a developer advocate at Lifecycle. So, mostly on the content and building the community around the product so that more people can give a valuable feedback and we can iterate the product and build much better product. So, that is what I do at the Lifecycle. So, yeah, I think before moving ahead, I think we should first people should know what is actually Lifecycle is. So, and why should developer care about that? So, yeah, so can you told about this? Why life cycle exists and why should everyone care about this?
Yeah, sure. So we started this company about 3 years ago in the midst of the corona epidemic. We were working, me and my partner Ishai, which is the CTO. We were working at the company called Soludo, and we had a problem. It wasn't actually; it was kind of a mistake. We created preview environment for a front-end application, and the initial goal was to create a better test environment for the programmers. But after we implemented the feature, we saw that actually the people who benefited the most from that feature was the designers and product managers who had access to the environment before it was shipped to staging. And it gave them an opportunity to give feedback and try the application before they could physically can beforehand. So maybe I should go back a second and explain what a preview environment is. So a preview environment is we have in the production software production workflow, we have several kind of environments, right? So we have the maybe the most familiar environment is the production environment, which is the actual product itself, which resides and accessible to all of the users. But usually we also have other kinds of environments. So the most prevalent are staging environment, which is kind of a copy of the production environment that lives in parallel to it, and you deploy it first, you see that everything works fine, and only then you deploy the code you did deploy to staging, you deploy it also to production. Additionally, usually we have development environments. Those are environments that are used by the developers to have a way to see what they're working on besides code, right? So they run the application on their computer, and every time they change code, they can see it reflected in the application itself. So preview environments are kind of between staging and development environments. They are usually constructed in the PR time, or MR, the code review time, before you merge the actual code changes to the main branch. We spin up an environment the same way we would spin up in our personal computer. We'd spin it up inside the cloud, and we have a shareable URL to give to all stakeholders who are interested. It can be other developers which may want to review the application, not only read the code, but also interact with the application itself. And it can also help other stakeholders who don't know how to read code, which are non-developers, and they can experience the application themselves and give feedback. So for example, it's very useful for UI applications because usually there's a designer involved, and the designer usually have some feedback on the design implemented. So if there are mismatches between the implementation and the design, we can spot it on earlier in the production workflow and save time, not going through the loop of merging it, then review it, then open a new PR, then merge it again, and so on and so forth. That's basically, in a nutshell, the reason for preview environments.
Thank you so much for that. And I think this is the ideology behind the. I really like the company ideology behind that because none of the people is solving this issue. Like everyone is just like talking about other products. It is more oriented towards the front end. But talking about the jam stack, talking about the full stack, talking about the application which have multiple stack, like using the Redis, using the Postgres. There's no way to you can create preview environments very smoothly. There's always a pain point. Yeah, thank you so much for the answer.
Thank you.
Again,
For
I will again go to the same question, like what problem it is actually solving. Like if you go a little bit much more deep, like what is a problem like it is actually solving from a different product in the market. I already touched upon this, like in the last statement about the full stack and front end thing, but people will love to know like much more deeper in this.
Right. So I started to mention it before, but one of the main problems it solves is the feedback loop. So when you are working in a PR workflow, in the Git workflow, usually it's done by creating a new branch. You write your changes inside, you push them. Now you want to merge those changes into the main branch and then deploy it to staging and production and so on. So the act of merging it usually comes with a review phase, which means we create some kind of a diff document and we give it to someone to review it. Usually it's a peer developer, and they go over the code and they give comments. What they can also do, they can download that code and pull that code into their computer, run it, and check it out. But it's not very convenient. And even when you should do it, people don't do it enough because what you need to do, you need to change the branch you're currently at, which is annoying. Maybe you have some build steps and so on. You basically switching your context, and it's bothering your work. So usually what people do is they read the code and say it's good enough. I can understand just by reading it, but they miss a lot of stuff by doing that. And if imagine you had a link, and within that link, you already have a running instance of that application without you having to do those steps of downloading the code, building it, running it, and so on. It's much easier, and you can do it without switching your context. And you can provide better feedback, more quality feedback. Not only that, so basically I talked about dev to dev collaboration, right? So not only dev to dev collaboration, in the case of dev to non-dev collaboration, like I mentioned before, this entire process doesn't exist because they don't have an ability to understand the code because they are not coders. So what they do, solutions that exist that I know of is, a designer might go physically to the developer's computer, tap on their shoulders. Can you show me, please, what you did here? Maybe fix that, move that 3 pixels to the right, and so on, which is annoying for everyone. It's both annoying for the designer because they have to, bother the developer and disturbing them in their work, and the developer needs to physically interact with them while they're working. And it can also be done remotely, it doesn't matter, but it's the same kind of problem, right? when you do a PR, you do it at your own time when you want without having to rely on someone else. And though this option doesn't exist for designers or PMs, and it doesn't. It's not only designers and PM; those are the most prevalent cases, but it can be also marketing people like Zevi, or business persons like C-level executives and so on. So anyone who's interested to see the work being done while it's being done and before it's being merged can do it. And you can share it with everyone, basically, you give access to.
Maybe I could just add one kind of summary, not to really add anything, but maybe just to frame it a different way from where I sit, is that, I think that every developer that's working on something, certainly if they're working with a team, will need feedback at some point. There's no such thing as launching a successful piece of technology or software without getting feedback, certainly from the people that you're working with. And so the question is, how does that developer get the feedback? And feedback is valuable, but it's also very expensive. It's expensive both in terms of the time that it takes to get it and in terms of the effort that's required. And as Asaf just talked about, there's endless places in the development workflow where the developer wants or needs that feedback, could use that feedback. But again, it just the reality is it just takes a very long time and a lot of effort to be able to create opportunities to get feedback, whether it's dev to dev, as Asaf was mentioning, and it's even more difficult when it's between devs and non-devs, because they're just existing. They're operating in different environments and different platforms. And what we're doing, in a nutshell, almost from a storytelling standpoint, putting the product itself aside, our mission is really to be able, in my mind, to be able to give developers the tools they need to get feedback from anyone at any time, as soon as they need it. And if we can make that process smoother and bring that feedback earlier on in the process, we don't require people to be provisioning, staging environments or deploying stuff to production to find bugs. If you can bring the feedback loops earlier and take away the friction, then what you end up doing is you save everybody a lot of time, a lot of headaches, and even from a business point of view, you end up with higher quality products and seeing a result in your bottom line.
I really love the perspective from their both. Like, one is from the technical background and one is from the marketing background. I really love the perspective. And one more thing I want to add is that, like, talking about the non-coder part, like design and everything, I agree with us 100%. Like, people wait for the developers to come and create a PR, and there's a staging and there's a preview. Then it's take time. And the thing is, sometimes developers are not free, but the designer wants instant feedback. And one more thing is that I understand this whole development cycle from creating that thing to getting into production can optimize so much, because everyone is just getting the feedback much faster and getting the things done very quickly. Like, if someone gets a feedback, they fix the feedback, they ask for feedback, so process gets smoothly. I think from getting from the local to production becomes so much smoother. Yeah.
Totally.
Again,
And maybe just to add to that, and then you can go wherever we want with this, but it is important to emphasize from a product point of view, really there's probably two general solutions that we're kind of mixing together and offering the end user. One of them is what Asaf mentioned in terms of being able to create these environments and create the ability to see instantly the work that the developer is doing, and give access to anybody else to see the UI, to see the different services that are running. And the second part, which is Pradumna, what you were just touching on now, that Asaf alluded to, is, well, once let's say me as the marketing person, once I can see the environment and I want to give Asaf feedback, well, how do I do that? Do I go ahead and tap Asaf on the shoulder? Do I send him a Slack message? Do I put it in a Google Doc? Well, we don't want that to happen, because that kind of defeats the whole purpose. So what we've done in order to facilitate that is we've actually created a layer on top of these preview environments where anybody who's looking can mark it up. It's almost like, think of it as Figma, in a sense, where you're looking at a UI and you can mark up and leave comments, and the developer then sees those comments in their native context, and nobody has to set up another Zoom call or go to a different platform like Figma or Slack, and everything is kind of there.
Yeah, that is one of the superpowers, and really happy to show a demo in the next office hours, just showing people how it works actually. So yeah, like, one of the next question, like, what are the current efforts, like what we are building, what are actual efforts like going currently ongoing. Yeah. So yeah, you can take the question.
Sure. So currently, one of our main efforts is an open source project called Privy. We started it a few months ago. It's growing really nicely, already about 2K stars. And what it does, it's basically you take your Docker Compose, it's built upon Docker Compose configurations. So you take your Docker Compose configuration, and instead of deploying it in your on your Docker context, it actually spin up a virtual machine in the cloud in your own provider, whether you use GCP or Azure or AWS or any kind of Kubernetes cluster anywhere in the cloud, you can use us. And it spins up a VM. And in that VM, it runs the Docker Compose configuration you gave it. So it also it creates, it takes care of all of the TLS termination, so that URL is secure with HTTPS out of the box without you having to configure anything. So basically, it's you, instead of running Docker Compose up, you run Privy app, and that's it. So it's as simple as that for using it, and it creates a shareable, public-facing, secure HTTPS URLs if you use multiple services, which you can share. And on top of that, we added more features. For example, access control. So if you want to limit access to those URLs for certain kind of users, for example, only users in your team or your organization, you can do that. And as Zevi mentioned before, we have the collaboration layer on top of that, which enables you to annotate and leave comments inside those environments. So you have the context of the conversation residing inside those preview environments. So the idea here is being that you would implement and use it inside your continuous integration solution, for example, GitHub Actions or something. We already built our own GitHub Actions to help you with that, and also Circle CI orb if you're using Circle CI, or you can use your any CI that you want. And the idea here is that for every commit you push inside every branch, you would have a preview environment which you can share with everyone. So if you have a Docker Compose configuration, it's very easy to do. If not, it's also very easy to create the Docker Compose configuration. So that's one thing we're working on. And another thing being worked on right now is a Docker extension. So we're building an extension for Docker for desktop. There is a marketplace inside, and you can install the Preview extension. And what it enables you to do is take every Docker Compose environment you have running inside your computer, inside your Docker desktop, click a toggle, and then it would also reside in the cloud with publicly facing URLs and all of the features I mentioned before with the collaboration and so on. Yeah, anything else you'd like to add?
Oh, that seemed. I mean, those are the two main efforts that are kind of new and exciting at the moment. And getting back to the story that we told before, I mean, it really is. These are two great examples of how we give development teams this kind of flexibility. So we know that every team has their own workflow and dependencies and limitations and preferences. And the goal here is not to, tell people to stop doing what they're doing and to replace it with something else. Our goal is to just make life easier and to make developers happier. And we do that by building entry points and tools that can kind of seamlessly fit into whatever it is that they need. So if they need to be able to expose their local environment with something like a Docker extension, they can do that. If they have already some sort of cloud setup and dependency, or they need, Kubernetes support, they can use Privy to provision those environments. So that's really our goal. All of these are two new examples of the the same kind of mantra, which is just giving developers the tools they need to share their work, get the feedback in an actionable, easy, quick way.
Yeah, thank you so much for answering. And one thing I want to add about the Docker Compose itself. So it is a super popular thing, and recently like Docker announced a Docker init. So even you are don't have Docker Compose file, you can just do Docker init, and it will create Docker Compose file in a minute. Just so it becomes super easy for us as well. Like developer who are not very familiar with the Docker Compose, they can still use the preview, just doing the Docker Compose file and creating that. So that is, and a couple of things. You can see already a banner running. You can just start us, and I also drop in the comments as well, so you can start the preview. And talking about the extension is still on the wait list. If we are really more than happy if you just sign up and join the wait list. And you can also see some of the tweets related to extension on the Lifecycle, Lifecycle Twitter and the LinkedIn. I also link them below in the YouTube video. So yeah, feel free to do sign up and start the preview. And if you are using the preview, planning to use a preview, we also have docs. Feel free to go to the preview.dev. You will I also recently started creating video around that, like either you are using AWS, either you're using GCP or anything. It will start The docs will start slowly evolving, having different videos for different things, like soon going to plan with the GitHub actions as well. But for now, we have AWS GCP video, so feel free to there. You will find the video as well as the written documentation as well. Yeah.
Great.
The next question is how the other developer get involved in our community?
So that's a good question, and we are very. I'll start by saying that we are very interested in continuing to grow our communities. That's the first main thing. Is that everybody throws around this word community, and there's a lot of great communities out there, certainly for developers. I think we are looking for people and teams who see a value, who appreciate the pain points, who see a value in these kind of tools, and who simply want to join, a like-minded group of smart, talented people, not just us in the company, but also the users that we have and the people that we've engaged with already, and just kind of to continue to put our heads together to keep improving these tools and sharing knowledge and sharing ideas. Specifically, how people can get involved. So I'll mention 3 ways. And first of all, everybody's invited, as Pradumna, you mentioned. You have it there at the bottom of the screen, the project. Feel free to try out Privy. If you have contributions you want to make, feel free to contribute and be a part of the technical side of what we're doing in that way. It's always a great entry point. In addition, Pradumna, you're managing, I don't know if you want to speak to this, you're managing our Slack community, and we have a dedicated Slack channel, not just for Preview, it's going to also kind of encompass the other efforts that we're doing. The goal there is kind of, first of all, as a support channel, if anybody has any questions or wants to, ask the community or ask our team how to use something, how to set something up, you ran into a problem, certainly can join there. And just generally, the conversations that are starting to evolve, and just to be a part of sharing stuff that you've written and stuff that, upcoming events and relevant stuff. As we get more involved in the open source community, as we get more involved in the Docker community with the extension, these community entry points are going to be very important. The last thing I'll mention is that we have a project that we've had running in the background for now probably almost 2 years. And it's what we call the DevX project. The DevX project is simply a way that we are giving some texture and some context to this thing that everybody calls developer experience. Developer experience is like this buzzword that people throw around, and it means different things to different people. What we're simply doing is giving a platform for experienced developers, industry leaders. We're asking them 10 questions about developer experience, and we're sharing that knowledge with the world. So if people want to consume that content, you're welcome to go. There's no paywall. It's all free. And if you want to get featured, if you have something to say yourself, if you or maybe someone in your company you think would be a great contributor, we welcome that contribution. Please get in touch with us on the site, and we'd be happy to talk to you about it.
Thank you so much for the answering, and our 3 of us. Like talking about the preview Slack. So it's currently it's a Lifecycle Slack. So our effort, as Zevi mentioned, is like more, and we just really want the feedback from the community and improve the product. That is the end goal. Like getting more users and getting more feedback. This is what our end goal. Yeah, one more thing. This link might change in the future, like, but we will update in the YouTube comments, so don't worry that. But for now, it's previewusers.slack.com. Yeah, I think we are heading to the end of this stream. So there's one more question, like I have planned for you. So what's ahead? So what we are planning in future?
Well, I mean, I think we have a couple of exciting things coming. I'll mention one or two, and then Asaf, you're welcome to hop in if you want. But we have some on a specific level. Yishai, our CTO, is going to be one of the main speakers at the upcoming CIVO conference. That's going to be exciting, so people should look out for that. We'll be posting about that on social. In addition to that, from a kind of marketing or community perspective, we've got a whole bunch of stuff coming up in September with some webinars and some I don't even know what to call it. Is it called Twitter Live anymore? What do we call it? X Live? I don't know what to call it. Whatever the platform is called, live on that platform. Pradumna, you'll be spearheading some of those efforts, I know, and you have a lot of stuff that's coming from your side, and great content as usual. So that's more on like the outbound side of things. Asaf, maybe you'll tell us on the product side what we have coming.
Sure. So we just finished working on a big product update, which is the dashboard. Basically, for every environment to spin up, you can have we have one central place in which you can go and see all of your environments. You can also go inside each of those environments and easily see their logs, their environment variables. You can also go inside those environments via a shell, a terminal, and execute commands, whatever command you'd like. So basically a front end for those environments, which easily expose you to everything that's going on inside without you having to run cumbersome CLI tools on your computer. Just click on inside the link and you're already inside. You can also share it with other team members by inviting them. And yeah, so it's coming very soon. It's very exciting. Additionally, we talked beforehand about collaboration features. They are coming soon as well. So we're talking about internal chat, annotations for front-end applications, and so on. So those are coming pretty soon.
A lot going on. Stay tuned.
Yeah, a lot going on. And one more thing about my efforts. So as Zevi gave you a little bit of hint, like, so I'm working more on the content side. And one more thing, we also have like a blogging thing on the dev2 as well. I will give you a link, so where you find all the links. I will drop in the comments. Just give me a second. Okay, I already dropped that. So you'll find each and every link there. It's a bio drop link, so you will get each and everything there. So about my efforts, it's called X Spaces, Twitter Spaces. So a couple of spaces, and I think this is one of the efforts office has to be more vocal in the community. Actually, be more transparent to let people know what we are actually building and what we are actually like doing, inform the community. So this is why we are here to do a office hours, just to be more transparent. And yeah, a couple of more efforts, like bringing people on the live stream, talking with the Docker captains, talking with the industry expert to know their perspective on those things, like preview involvements and how they are solving problem, and understanding the pain point and everything, getting the feedback. Yeah, so I think that's it. And thank you so much, first of all, Zevi and Asaf, for joining. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for the audience joining. And I see a couple of people joining on the YouTube stream, and thank you so much for joining. Yeah, and yeah, till the next time.
Looking forward to speaking to everybody. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
yeah, take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.